What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Dev Combo as part of the Mini Indie Showcase for August of 2023. My name is Kyle Stevenson, and alongside me from the 6-1 side is Harry Loazides, our
Hello.
editor-in-chief. How you doing, Harry?
I'm great.
And joining us today to talk about their lovely game called Doggy Don't Care, we got Rowan Noel. How you doing, Rowan?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Excellent. Before we get started to talk about your game, can you just introduce everyone to yourself? Introduce yourself to everybody and the kind of the hobbies you have outside of gaming.
Yeah. So my name's Rowan Noel. I am 36. I live in Australia, in Sydney. Um, I'm working on Doggy Don't Care, which is my passion project at the moment. I have a history in website development, which I left officially about 6 years ago to pursue part-time work, which enabled me to focus more on indie game development. And Doggy Don't Care is my second commercial release.
Awesome. What was the first one?
First game was called Swoopy Boy, which was an Australian themed game where you played as a magpie, which you swoop people. It was a 2D like side-scrolling game. Basically,
Okay.
it was like a still screen, and you're magpie, and you're coming down, swooping back and forth, and people would walk across the bottom. And that was really successful for my first game, at least. It was a mobile game,
Nice.
and I learned a lot making that. So this one is a PC game, and I am going a bit harder, taking a bit more seriously this time. So we'll see how it
Sweet.
goes.
Yeah. Two games with an animal as
Yes.
the main role. What
Yeah,
what
I'm
what
loving it.
makes animals an easy thing to or something you want to do in games?
Yeah, I think I have gravitated towards animals. I think because um, they're just like cute. Because if it's a human, I feel like it's harder to put yourself in its shoes because you're like, oh, I'm not a female, or I'm not young, or I'm not this character that I'm playing. So I'm playing as them rather than seeing myself in that position. But when it's a dog, it's like too far away that you're just like, you know what, the hell with it. I'm a dog.
Yep.
I'm just gonna run around and be stupid, and you're just like happy to have that extra escape from every day, and just be like, I'm a dog for the next 20 minutes, half an hour, and yeah. So I think that's why. Um, and it just makes it easier to come up with fun, quirky mechanics as well. So I think that's why, yeah.
I love it.
That's great. Yeah. I also would much prefer to be a dog than a human nowadays anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
true.
And
feel like
plus,
it's
dogs
easier.
don't care.
Exactly. What made you want to switch from website developing into like creating games?
Um, well, I never really loved web development. I think the thing I
Mhm.
like about developing was the sense of coding something from scratch and seeing something come into being from literally like a white page, and then writing some code and it comes together.
Mhm.
So when I dipped my toes in gaming, making games, the sense of like putting a character on a screen and writing a bit of code and then it come into life and being able to control it, I literally just felt like a god that I was creating this world and creating this like living character, and it was just so much fun. So I pursued that part time and in my spare time, um, and it just got more and more in my head, and I just started getting a bit
Mhm.
more obsessed with it. And then the more I thought about that, the more I realized that I wasn't super into web development, and that maybe I could pursue something else for work and take this gaming development a bit more seriously. Um, yeah, but having said that, I was a web developer for 10 years, so I was pretty good at it, and I did enjoy it for what it was. But yeah, I got to that point in my life where I was like, this has been a long time. Um, Life's short. I should maybe give this gaming stuff a bit more of a go. So that's where
Mhm.
I am
Yeah.
at the moment.
That's awesome. Yeah, I relate to that because I was a substitute teacher for over a decade, and then I
Right.
finally decided to like I need to find something that I would much rather do with my time. Not that kids aren't great, just I got burnt
Yeah,
out, and it was just time.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, What indie games inspire you as a game dev? What do you like playing?
First one I think is a classic that comes to mind is Limbo.
Nice.
And Journey. So I'm very much into the minimal and simplistic. I should say deceptively minimal and simplistic because those things are very hard to make. They're easy to look at, but they're very hard to create. So I love those types of minimal, um, handmade indie games. And I'm also a huge fan of like the old collectathons like Banjo-Kazooie. I grew up playing Nintendo 64. I was a Nintendo fanboy.
Nice.
My first console was a Super Nintendo. So my first game I remember playing was Yoshi's Island. So I've got elements of those games in Doggy Don't Care. I've got like the color and the excitement elements from like Yoshi's Island and the collectathon feel from Banjo-Kazooie. I'm trying to keep the minimalist look from like Journey and stuff. Trying to bring those all together into the game I'm making. Um, yeah, and I also used to love GoldenEye and Perfect Dark on 64.
Nice.
So many hours sunk into those games. Huge fan of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you played like the newer versions of them that have come out, or GoldenEye specifically?
No, I kind of stopped. I gave like one more James Bond game a chance after the 64 007 game, and I didn't like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've never gone back to them. But
Yeah.
Fair
It's
enough.
probably for the best.
yeah,
Games have evolved a whole lot since
if
then.
I go back, I just go back to my 64 and play GoldenEye again.
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Doggy Don't Care. What are we doing in the game, and what kind of game is it?
Yeah, so Doggy Don't Care is it's a simple premise. You're a dog left at home alone. Your owner has gone, and you're left at home with your friend Rocko, who is a parrot. And you always get up to some antics. And today, for instance, Rocko has come up with some tasks for you to do, and he's got some mischievous badges for you to earn doing so. So you are left to your own devices in the house, and you have to figure out what is possible and what is interactable in the environment. And you just spend your time putting yourself in a dog's shoes or in a dog's paws, and getting up to as much mischievous as possible. And hopefully that's fun for everyone. So
Wow.
yeah, like for example, you can break vases, you can throw things in the toilet, you can dig up the backyard, and for each of these things you get a mischievous badge from the parrot. And then the idea is each level will be a different scenario, and somehow I will connect them with some sort of story. We'll see how that goes.
So, is this game based on a dog that you have, or is it just completely an idea that you came on your own?
Well, it wasn't per se about my dog because I didn't have one, but
Mhm.
they kind of happened at the same time. So I have a dog now. His name is Charlie, um, and he is a cavoodle. So he's not a pug, which is what the dog in the game looks like. Um, but yes, he is somewhat based on my dog now because every time Charlie gets up to mischief, I'm always like, Charlie, don't do that. But thanks for the idea for the game. But don't do it again. I've got the idea now. It's just
It's a double-edged sword right there.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, don't do that again, but do something else so I have another idea for my game, please. Um, so yeah, but yeah, having a dog is great. Like my wife always wanted a dog, and we were always going to get one, and it just happened to um, coincide with this game that came up.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
What's the most mischievous thing your dog has done?
my dog. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Or
Well,
maybe what's the most mischievous thing he's done this week?
The,
Oh, yeah.
the worst thing he's done is pee on our bed. Like it's just like, and it's not like a little like, oh, I'm just gonna mark here. It's like, pizza sized like things. That was the worst.
Fun.
And he's just always getting up to mischief. Is if you haven't seen him for like 5-10 seconds, you're like, oh crap, like what's he done now? Where is he? have to seek him out. But yeah, it is a good boy actually. He's
Yeah. Harry, what's the worst thing Vader's done?
The worst thing. Oh, well, so Vader is my black cat.
Yes.
He's adorable. He's very cutesy like the pug, and I'm sure Charlie is. I would say the worst thing he did, off the top of my head, was I don't have a giant Christmas tree. It's like 3 feet ish, so it's like half the size of a 6 footer, which is 6'5" by 2.
Mhm.
So, math. And I always see him eyeing it. He just stares at it. I think it's the colors or something. And then one day, as I'm about to fall asleep, like I'm getting ready for bed, I see him zoom into it, jumps on it, and then just like panics. It like makes a super loud noise, and then he runs away because he was scared of the noise. And I'm just like, what the heck did you do? And like, luckily he didn't get hurt. Nothing got broken, but it was like one of those like you see the ramp up, and you're like, what's gonna happen? What's happening? Oh my god, something's happening. And then you're just like, what am I gonna
Yeah.
do? So, um,
Yeah.
but
Last week, my
animals can be
sister's
animals.
dog took my dinner from the counter.
No.
Just hopped up and took the whole plate with him. It's like, oh,
Oh,
great.
no.
All right. I didn't want to eat anyway. It's fine.
That's
Uh,
good.
Animals are the best.
They are.
yeah,
Um,
they're worth it.
yeah. How important is like a lighthearted game like Doggy Don't Care? Doggy Don't Care is out there in the world. Like, I feel like a lot of indie games, a lot of video games in general, are like shooting, action, blood.
Yeah,
How important is it to keep it a little bit lighthearted in the indie space?
it's a good question, especially for me because I was making a game before this, in between Superboy and Doggy Don't Care, um, and it was a game revolved around grief. So,
Mm.
because we had a sudden death in our family 4 years ago, I think now, and one of the ways I was processing that was through game development. So I was building that, and that was a very heavy, serious story. That was a 2D side-scrolling platformer, like a lot of other indie games these days. Um, and I think a lot of indie games can be about grief these days, if they're not like the other ones that you mentioned. So as I was working on that, I was really passionate about that, and I really wanted it to do well. I was like, I finally have an idea for a game, and I'm really passionate about it, and I was pushing hard with it, and I got quite far, um, but I got to a point where it just became a bit too much, a bit too serious, and I was
Mm.
like, I think I've done enough processing, and it's time for me to maybe look for other ideas. So I just went like the other fields, get away from the human character, and let's just throw this dog character into a void and get him to run around. See if I can get that going because this was my first 3D project, I should say. Um, and yeah, as soon as I put the dog in this like the white void of Unity, and made him run around, and then I made him pee for the first time, and like a yellow circular pee stain came up. I was like, I found it. This is it. I'm gonna make this game. Um, yeah.
So how was the transition from your 2D games to the 3D space?
It was a bit of a learning curve. Um, I hadn't touched 3D at all.
Mm.
I'd always been like, I wish I could do 3D modeling. It looks so cool. I'd watched tutorials over the years and been like, okay, one day I'll get to that. One day I'll get to that. It's always like one day, one day, one day. Um, and then uh, making the 2D game was it's really like time consuming because I had to draw everything. Um, if you want a cube, you have to draw the cube. You can't just add the cube in a 2D game. Uh, so it was just so time consuming. Um, so when I got into the 3D world, um, I was learning a lot of stuff. So time went a lot faster, and I was progressing, and I was getting a lot of like the short term feedback of like, okay, can I make a dog run and like move and play the animation using code? And then I was getting all these things that I like doing, which is like creating characters, and like dipping my toes in animation, getting into code, all of these things coming together. So I just found myself loving the 3D world, and I was like, I can't go back to 2D now. I'm
Hmm.
all in on this 3D business.
Nice.
And then the Doggy Don't Care just started evolving, and it just went from there. Yeah.
Oh, I love
Nice.
that.
Yeah.
Mm.
A silly question, but how long and how difficult did you find it to animate the dog peeing in the game? Was that a surprising amount of time spent on that?
It was, you have to finesse everything. I'd finesse, but it was like it probably took me like an hour or something. Like it's really
Oh,
short.
great.
Like yeah,
Okay.
like once I had the character model the way I wanted it, I it was just a matter of lifting the leg, you know, and yeah, it was so simple. And then adding the particle effects was the fun bit because initially I had like the dog would lift his leg and then I would have like a circle like image that would start small and I'd just create make it like increase in size over time, and it would come up on the ground. But then after I had that for a couple of months, I changed it to be a particle effect where there would be little spherical um, objects that would just come out of his groin area, and it would just like bounce off the ground, and it just you can see it in the trailer where it's like bouncing off the piano. And I was like, oh, forget the circle. This waterfall business is so much better, and it's just so much fun doing stuff like that. It's just I love it.
What's the if you don't want to spoil it, that's fine. But what's the thing you're looking forward to people discovering in the game the most? Like the most mischievous thing?
I would like to have elements in the game, like I guess Easter eggs, where like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to have people run through the environment and be like, oh, I bet you can't do this. I bet you the developer hasn't thought about this, and then they try it, and then like, oh, it does. You can do that. Um, Stuff like that. Yeah, I want to surprise the people and fill in the gaps where they think that it won't be filled. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. When can we expect to play Doggy Don't Care, and where can we play it?
You can play it right now because the demo is on Steam. The demo is it's a good sense of what the game will be. I think I'm still figuring out exactly what it will look like in the long term, but the mechanics and the overall vibe of the game is there. So it's about, I think it's probably takes people roughly about 15-20 minutes to finish the demo. Everyone has loved it so far. I've had a couple of people stream it, and everyone just has big smiles on their face. A little bit smaller than my smile when I watch them because it's just so much fun watching people play my game and just having so much like fun with it. But yeah, you can play it on Steam now. There's also a website, doggydon'tcare.com, so you can check that out. And I'm working hard to get the full game fleshed out. Yeah.
Nice. I just saw another question while you were saying all that. How much joy do you get watching people play something you work so hard on? Like we create stuff, we do podcasts, whatever, but it's not like we can hop on and watch people listen to us talk. Like that's just not a thing that happens. So getting to watch people actually play something that you put so much time into, what does that feel like?
Yeah, it's like it's everything because I spend a lot of my time in a room by myself, thinking like, "What are you doing, you idiot? Like, no one wants to play this. Like, no one cares, And it's really easy to go down those rabbit holes of like, don't bother, like, like you made a dog pee, man. Like, good on you. Like, that's real good, man. Like, no one wants to see that. But then, you know, it's just so much. It's so encouraging when I see the people who I've made this game for play. So there's one girl, I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she was on Twitch and she was playing my game, and she was just the perfect essence of the type of person I made the game for, and she just loved every stupid little thing in it. And I think 2 or 3 of the streamers have each of them separately have said like, "Oh, this game is so stupid. I love it," like, and that's what I'm making it for. I just want people to enjoy it and just have fun, just be stupid and enjoy the little things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very excited for when it releases full on because I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
Absolutely. Rowan, thank you so much again for joining us and for allowing us to show off Doggy Don't Care. It looks incredible. So thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much for showing the game and having me on the show.
Of course, yeah. You can check out the Mini Indie Showcase now, which is on our YouTube channel where you're watching this. If you want to look at all the other games that were part of it, go hit up 61indie.com/showcase. And we have a lot more dev convos here with other devs from other games that we showed off. So we love you. Stay safe and play more indies. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.